We're in Burlington. We're staying at the hotel where the comedy club is, the Vermont Comedy Club. We're upstairs there because it's a hotel I knew. So I said, hey, let's go there. It's nice. They're going to have good Wi-Fi. I knew we had to record. And it's just a stone's throw away from all the good stuff. And we're going to go hiking and all that shit. Nice getaway.
Great town.
So I love the town. You know that main square, the town square there? I don't know what it's called. It's just shops. It's picturesque. If you've never been to Burlington, you should come visit it. You should especially visit Vermont Comedy Club because I'm sure they're fucking hurting here. And it's a great club. Great owners. So we're here. We walk over there, and you know you've been there. It's picturesque, the big Christmas tree, and it's Bernie Sanders, and it's this hippie town, Ben and Jerry.
Yep.
But they don't feel to me, and I could be wrong, I don't live here, they don't feel like those pretentious fucking Brooklyn with the silly pants and the goofy glasses and the silly hat, and they're like, you can't say that, or whatever. They just feel like cool here.
Yeah, they're crunchy, but they're not in your face.
Yeah, they just feel cool. They're like, everybody. They've been doing this for a while. It's not a new thing here.
Exactly.
They're just like leftover hippie people. And anyway, so it's just a nice town. But we walk out of this restaurant. We have a nice meal. We walk out, and you just see this guy, backpack on, young guy, probably 20s, and he's got a screw loose. He's cracking up, and he's just going, what the fuck does everybody want from me? Screaming. And then he did like a, I think maybe the Black Panther thing or one of the comic book guys that does a big wind up and slam on the ground.
Oh.
Do you know that move? Isn't that a comic book guy? Maybe it's Thor.
Thor or Hulk or Iron Man? I don't know.
Maybe it's Iron Man. It's like they drop to a knee and they smash the ground and I think something happens. I think I've seen it before.
Yeah, maybe in a video game I've seen that. I'm not too familiar. I don't know.
It might be a Mortal Kombat, maybe. It was some dramatic video gamey like.
What a dork!
But so we saw him do that. We're like, oh, there's a crazy. Let's go the other way because he's crazy. And then we go into a bookshop, get a couple books, and we come out. And now I see him. He's screaming at two young women, like Earl Weaver, like, you fucking kill, I'll fucking kill. And they're like, ooh. And everybody's kind of scattering and watching him. And we're like, this guy's crazy. He walks up to another woman and starts screaming in her face. He's like, you think it's funny? You think this is fucking funny? And she's like, And nobody's really doing anything or calling the cops. And I'll just say this, and I don't want to be controversial. This is a very politically correct show. But he's of African-American descent, and I feel like we're in this place of if you call the cops on this maniac, you're a bad person, he's troubled, whatever.
Interesting.
So nobody's doing anything, no security, no one's coming out, and he's terrorizing this little town square.
Yeah.
And so we see him over there. We got to go this way. So we walk all the way around to avoid him, and while we were walking around, he came back in the other direction. And he's like, whoa! He's like a ghost or a goblin, like a villain.
Right.
He keeps popping up, and then we see like a father and son, like a little girl, like a 8-year-old girl and her father, and then he kind of just goes into like a shell. He has a phone. He's like looking at his phone, and as they get closer, he like throws a karate kick, not at that, not close enough to hit them, but like in their direction, like a foot away from them, and they just go, what Jesus? And he's like, he's crazy.
Holy hell. So what happened?
So he's literally terrorizing, and we're like, Jesus. And so now we're like 100 yards away from him, but we have to plan our walk home because now it's hard to explain, but he's like cutting across this other grassy square, and we're walking this way, and we're like, shit. And now we look around, there's no other couples, and we're like booking it. And it reminded me of being like bullied as like in like middle school or something. Like you see, you're walking home, and like there's the older kids, and you're like, oh my God, they're on the path. It's whatever guy.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting to the hotel safely, but this guy's just terrorizing the neighborhood. We're on a nice vacation, and I'm afraid to go back out there because he's nuts. And now it's nighttime.
Wow, you leave Queens, you leave New York City, this hotbed of nut jobs, and the epicenter of Corona. You go to the cute town of Burlington, Vermont, Ben and Jerry's, Bernie Sanders. You're being tormented by a nutty comic book cunt.
It's horrendous. It's horrible, and no one seems to be doing it. And then you're like, should we call the police? Like, no one seems to be doing anything because I wouldn't mind having a cop go, hey, sir, you got to move on or something. And Sarah was like, there should be a service where they just drive you to the other side of town and like Rambo. That's why we started talking about Rambo. I just realized. And make them at least walk back or something. But I mean, this guy is terrifying. I'm looking over both shoulders, and we're walking really fast and shit.
Yeah.
And he feels like a guy that wants a confrontation. Like
Right.
He wants somebody to get physical so he can sue you or whatever.
Yeah, you don't, because you want to tackle the guy, but then if somebody gets a cell phone video of that, you're ruined. You're known as the guy who tackles the African American drifter.
And he might have a weapon. He might be on meth. I mean, he seems like he's on something. But
Yeah,
he
for
also,
sure.
he doesn't look like a homeless person. He's got a backpack and a nice jacket, and he has a cell phone. So he's not like fully like a street person. He looks like he is relatively functional. He's just angry and drunk, or he's on something. It's hard to describe, but he's not a homeless person. I don't think.
Right. He sounds like a schizophrenic guy, maybe off his meds, and maybe he's having an episode or something. I don't know, or he's hopped up on something. But yeah, he's a menace, and we gotta stop him. He needs to be tased. It feels like.
Don't get me wrong. I am empathetic to anyone that's struggling in this
Sure.
way. He's an unfortunate soul and yada yada. But I like feeling that way from my hotel. When I see him, I'm like, I hope this guy trips and falls and dies before he gets to me.
Exactly, and for some reason, the comic book movements are bothering me more than the actual tormenting. I'm like, you just call me a homo or a fucking numbskull, but don't karate kick me.
I know, and I feel for the dad, because his dad is like taking his 8-year-old girl, and I always feel like there's no recovering from that, because he threw like a kick, and they're like, whoa, and the dad has to just be like, yeah, I don't know, I shit my pants in front of my daughter. It was terrifying. So, and heaven help me if I bump into with my wife, because I'm going to throw her in the bushes and run for it.
Well, it also sounds like this guy's got a problem with the lady parts.
That's what it feels like. Yeah, that's what I suspect. And by the way, like I've taken a fair amount of mixed martial arts, so I know how to handle myself in some degree. But it makes you, don't you always wish? I wish I had started when I was 6 and I was like a 79th degree black belt, and I could just go over there and Vulcan neck pinch him, and then he falls asleep and everyone claps, and then like a woman just comes over and blows me. My wife is cool with it because I neck pinched the fucking loser.
Right. I think about that. I think that's a guy thing. Those fantasies in your head where you just go beat up that guy, and then they give you the key to the city, and the mayor eats your ass, and you're the coolest guy in town. And I asked my gal about that, and she was like, "What?" I'm like, "You don't have those?" She's like, "No. I put makeup on, I figure myself, and I go to work."
Well, I used to do a bit about it. I think it's on my album, maybe. I can't remember. But I had a bit about those people that someone tries to fight them and they say, wrong guy.
Yes.
And everyone's like, whoa. But I'm like, I couldn't do that. I'd have to be like, right guy, you got me. Sorry. I think that's on an album. I can't remember.
That's a great bit. I don't remember that one. But it's so true. You want to be that guy who's like, you don't want to do this, trust me. And they're like,
exactly.
Oh, I want to do it. And you're like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, now I'm just hoping that's on my CD. I think it's on Are You Mad at Me? I think it's on there.
Oh, all right. Well, hey, if it's not, you got a bit to put on some wax.